Well, good morning and welcome to another edition of the New Hampshire Sports Show each and every Saturday morning on AM-610 WGIR in the Manchester area. You can also catch us on Crystal Clear FM out on the New Hampshire Seacoast 96.7 The Wave. I am Pete Tarrier along with my normal co-host Marc Thaler from the Union Leader, New Hampshire Sunday News, and ESPNBoston.com. Good morning to you, Marc.
Good morning, Pete. How are you?
Well, I say good morning, but we're really kind of faking it today because this is a pre-recorded show. We've got a couple of special guests in studio, and they're here to talk about a tremendous event which is coming up next Friday, August 3rd, at the SNHU Fieldhouse. It's the SAM CAREY New Hampshire Alumni Classic, and we got a couple of classic coaches, Marc, in studio. None other than Stan Spirou from Southern New Hampshire University and Dave Doc Wheeler from Central. Guys, thanks so much for coming in. We really appreciate it. It's unfortunate that there's a circumstance like this when we have you in and talk about a player that you guys both coached, both loved, and he passed away last fall after a car accident. We're talking about Sam Carey, and we got to give a lot of credit to Brett Sellingham, the guys at BST Basketball, for putting this thing together, because you look down at this event that's going to be going off at the Fieldhouse at SNHU on Friday, August 3rd, and it is a veritable all-star game. The Major League Baseball all-star game was just a few weeks ago. I'm looking at the talent on these two rosters, and we'll start with you, Doc. Central Little Green team, coached by you, Dave Doc Wheeler. If you could go back in the time that you've been coaching at Central and were asked to put together an all-star team from all those teams that you've coached, I think you'd be hard-pressed to come up with a team with as much talent as here. I mean, I'm just going to read down some of the names that you guys got playing here. You got David Cooper, P.J. Young. P.J., of course, played for both SNHU, under Stan and Doc Wheeler. Tyler Roach, Joey Fremo, Will Bayless, Mike Stiles. A kid that didn't play for you, but I'm sure you would have liked to have him on your team, Luke Bonner. Chris Burns, another good one from New Hampshire, playing at Merrimack. Matt Lemieux, a kid from Central as well. And you think that team's tough. Listen to this team that Stan Spirou has at his disposal on Friday, August 3rd. Chris Lutz, Chris Brickley, Austin Denton, Mark Yetton, Scott Hazelton, Steve DeLuca, Tim Lee, Miguel Gonzalez, and Troy Bowen. It's an all-star cast. I mean, when you looked at those rosters, Doc, were you saying, how are we going to beat these guys?
Well, let me tell you, I'm just glad I didn't screw a couple of those kids up, Stan. No, it's an honor to be with them. I love our guys, and for them to be coming back to honor Sam Carey, it's a true testament to their character, and a number of those kids Stan coached also, and we're blessed that they have the kind of character and they have the desire to come back and support a fallen teammate. So we're pretty proud of that.
Stanley, when you were asked to be part of this thing, and I'm sure the facility was also a big part. I mean, where Stan played his college ball and grew up in this area. How quickly did you jump at the opportunity to take part in this thing?
Well, the first thing I said was yes, as long as I'm in town, and anytime you can get together and do something for Sam and his family, certainly he has meant a lot, to not only our program but to the whole overall school community. He's meant a lot to the Queen City. He's touched a lot of people, even though he lived a short life. Sam was one of those kids that no matter where he went, he would always make friends. He would always give something back. He was a special person in that regards, and for me, just to give one night in Sam's memory to help out his family is a no-brainer.
Is it safe to say that all of the players as well jumped at the chance to be a part of this?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It stands right. One of the things that going through the grieving process with Sam was trying to understand how a 26-year-old young man could touch thousands of people. I mean, it's really amazing. And Sam really touched a number of these kids, and they want to be a part of it. I mean, it wasn't like asking them, begging them to come. Like, a lot of these guys started to hear about the event and have called and reached out and volunteered to come.
Hey, I want to know, and this is a question that may be difficult to answer, but say this was a tribute for someone else and Sam was still alive, and how would he decide, and how would you guys decide which team he plays on? I mean, that would be, I think, one of the toughest decisions. Maybe he'd play both ways for you guys.
Well, I would give him back to Doc. You know, I spent 4 years yelling at him. It would have been Doc's turn again, so we started the whole process over again. But, you know, again, going back, you know, a lot of people are talking about the actual game, you know, with all these great players, but I see it from a different angle. I see it as a night that a lot of these kids and coaches are going to spend some time to, you know, reflect and really reminisce a little bit about Sam's life and what he had to give to his friends, to the game. And I'm sure a lot of stories will be told, you know, when he played for Doc at Central, you know, with a lot of his teammates, and certainly a lot of the stories will be told about his 4 years with us and the kids that he played with, P.J. Young and so forth. So I think more so than a basketball game, it's going to give us an opportunity, like I said, to really reminisce and talk a little bit about Sam and the role he played, you know, in a short life.
For both coaches, how do you keep the emotions in check on when, you know, game day comes around and you know why you're all there and you see all of Sam's friends and former teammates, and how do you keep those emotions in check, or do you?
I can speak for both of us on this one. You don't. I still get choked up quite a bit, and I just to echo what Stan's going to say, it's going to be a celebration, you know, of Sam's life. And you know, when we had the game this winter at you know, at Southern New Hampshire, you know, the minute I walked in that gymnasium, my eyes just started to water, and it's you know, it's a testament to a young man that just did it the right way, and I think he touched both of our lives in a very unique fashion. All right, so it's going to be difficult.
Certainly, it's a tough night, you know, for anybody that was close to Sam. But the thing that gets me through, and I spent maybe 5 minutes yesterday, you know, when you talk to his father and his mother, and the strength and the way they handle themselves and present themselves, it makes it a lot easier for someone like Doc and I just to see how they handle it, and certainly, you know, with his family being there and a lot of his friends, it's going to ease that pain a little bit less.
It is the New Hampshire Sports Show right here, WGIR AM-610, 96.7, The Wave. Pete Tarrier, along with Marc Thaler, special guests in studio, Dave Doc Wheeler, head coach of the Manchester Central boys basketball team. Also have Stan Spirou from the Southern New Hampshire University men's basketball team. And we're here to honor the passing of Sam Carey, who was tragically killed in an automobile accident trying to come home to visit his family. He was playing professionally up in Canada, was on his way home and had an accident and ended up taking his life, and left behind a young son who was not even a year old at the time, Brayden, a fiance. And I remember, Doc, you mentioned the game that you guys played at the Fieldhouse against Memorial. We had you and Mike Fitzpatrick in the studio a few months back, and you were talking about the motions there. The ceremony where they retired Sam's number, and can you talk a little bit about that with the family there, and presenting them with that framed jersey that Sam used to wear? That must have been probably part of the most moving part of the whole ceremony that day.
Well, one of the great things about Sam is Sam's family. And I developed a very close relationship with his father, Owen, and his mother, Esther. And the thing with Sam is they did a lot of things together. And they're, you know, Owen, his dad, is an elder at a local church, and it's a community to itself, that church. And what you find is one of the members of that church does something, all of them participate. And what ended up happening is Owen participated throughout Sam's high school career, and it led for us to have a lot of discussions of, you know, how to handle him. He was a homeschooled boy coming into a 2,500 person high school. Next thing you know, Owen's videotaping our every single game that we have for 3 years. And he had certain commentaries about the officiating during most of those film sessions. But yeah, his parents are tremendous, and as a result of it, we've developed a tremendous friendship. I just went out to dinner with his folks last week.
What was the most pleasant surprise from that first the first game back when we chatted in the wintertime. Was there something unexpected that was a pleasant surprise that came from that game?
It's the community. The community has really stepped up for Sam and his family in a really unique way. Stan and the college couldn't have done more for Sam and his family, and it's really it's the community has taken that and really run with it. And there's been a number of different fundraisers. I mean, there's tens of thousands of dollars in a trust fund for Sam's son, and I'm telling you, I am so touched with the way our community has responded for this and for Sam.
Stan, as far as putting on something like this, I mean, it's a no small task. Obviously, the crew at SNHU is phenomenal. The sports management program you guys have over there is great. They certainly know how to put on an event. It's one of the best facilities as far as tournaments, whether it be, at the Division II level where you're coaching at, or when they do the high school stuff over there as well. How, is that something that they come to you first and say, this is what we want to do, and then you'll go to the athletic director over there, the athletic department, the president of the school? How does that part of it work so you guys can host an event sort of like this?
Well, Peter, thank you for those, kind words. Certainly, our school has gone above and beyond to get itself involved with the community. We have a lot of events, and the people that are behind the scenes in terms of putting these events on, a lot of times, my name comes up in terms of, because I've been around and from this community, but the people behind the scenes are the ones responsible, from the people that make the initial decision to say yes, and from the last person, to sweep the floor after an event. We have a great staff. People take great pride, and especially to do an event, for someone special like Sam. So many people wanted to volunteer, so many people wanted to be part of it, and certainly the community coming out that day, like Doc said. It's a special place. I've been there, for a long time, and it reflects the community that we all live in, because Manchester is a special place, and just that one incident, one game, and hopefully this game here can attract the same interest.
I just have a basketball related question related to Sam. What was the biggest jump that he made from when you coached him, Doc, to when you coached him, Stan, going from high school to college basketball?
Well, Sam was one of these kids that I think his greatest strength, he had a great feel for the game. His basketball IQ was second to none. And usually kids that size really don't understand the game. Sam could see the picture from different angles, even though he played inside for us because we didn't have anybody taller or bigger. Sam could go out, pass the basketball, shoot the basketball, and I think that was his greatest quality. And a lot of that came from Doc and playing for Doc at Central High School. We all know, and again, I'm not going to sit here and patronize Doc, but he does such a great job with these kids, allows them to express themselves on the basketball court, whether it's Sam Carey, David Cooper, P.J. Young, some of the other kids we had, Nick Karageorges. These kids come ready. Anytime you put on that Central jersey and go to the next level, you're going to be ready and you're going to compete. And that was Sam. We needed to get him to the next level to become an all-league player, but he was ready-made when he came to us because he played for Doc and wore my alma mater colors.
We're talking about a kid 6'8", dominated in New Hampshire high school basketball, was a tremendous player at the Division II level, had some D1 looks, some interest in D1 as well. Who was interested in him? How did you guys? Was it the fact that he wanted to stay home? Was that really the reason that?
Well, I'll tell you. I can tell you. I remember Wagner was very interested in him, and there were a number of Division I schools interested in him. And the thing with Sam is, he was the baby of a family. He was homeschooled, through 8th grade, came to Central in 9th grade. So, there were some maturity issues and concerns with him. So, like, who do you want to give him to? You want to give him to someone like Stan Spirou, who's going to take care of him. He's going to help mold him. He's going to help turn him into a young man. And some of the basketball things were just starting with him. He was, he was very late, in terms of his development. Like he played on a school team for the first time as a 9th grader. So like he was very gifted, and he could pass the ball. He had great footwork. He had soft hands. And a lot of these things were you could see they were there. They needed someone of Stan's gifts to really develop them. And Stan developed. I mean, he's a professional player. I mean, Stan did an unbelievable job with this kid. And to Sam's credit, he was willing to do the work. He was willing to be coached, and he's really willing to share the ball with having a big man that could pass like he could. That's pretty unique, some of his gifts, and Stan was brilliant enough to bring him out.
We're talking about the Sam Carey-New Hampshire Alumni Classic, first annual game, going to be played Friday, August 3rd, SNHU Fieldhouse in Manchester. It's an event put together by Brett Sellingham and the guys at BST Basketball, Mike Stiles. I know part of that BST family who's going to be playing on Dave Doc Wheeler's team, as it is Team Green against Team Blue. Team Green coached by Doc Wheeler, Team Blue coached by Stan Spirou from Southern New Hampshire University. It's all to benefit the family of Sam Carey, who was tragically taken from us in a car accident last fall. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll talk a little bit more about that. I also, guys, it's hot stove season as far as basketball is concerned. I want to talk to you guys about the off season and how we're looking towards next year as we continue. It is the New Hampshire Sports Show. Pete Tarrier along with Marc Thaler right here, WGIR AM-610 and 96.7 The Wave. Back here on the New Hampshire Sports Show each and every Saturday morning between 8 and 9 a.m. right here, WGIR AM-610. Also on the Seacoast, 96.7 The Wave. Pete Tarrier along with Marc Thaler from the Union Leader, also from ESPNBoston.com. We got special guests in studio, Dave Doc Wheeler from Manchester Central Basketball, Stan Spirou from SNHU Hoops, just kind of reminiscing a little bit during the break of old times, talking about, I used to call, actually, when Sam Carey, it is the Sam Carey-New Hampshire Alumni Classic game, a benefit game put on by BST Basketball Friday, August 3rd at SNHU Fieldhouse. Charity proceeds going towards Sam's family. He left them behind when he was killed tragically in an automobile accident last fall. Fiance Kayte, is that her name? Kayte? His fiance, Kayte, and his young son Brayden, who is probably going to be about 1 year old pretty soon.
He's over one now.
He's over one now. So who's
little kid.
Are you recruiting him already, Stan? Is it?
Believe it or not, I don't know if you were at that game, but our president offered him a scholarship already.
Really?
Whether
That's
he
right.
plays basketball or not,
Right.
he has a free education to Southern New Hampshire
Wow.
University.
Wow.
And that's a great
beyond
touch that
tremendous.
our president thought of that and went out and did it. And we announced it the night that we honored Sam at the field house.
And I bet you'll still be around coaching by then, huh?
I doubt it.
Yeah. Well, what is your situation? I mean, you have been around for how many years now? Almost 30 years coaching?
Too many years.
Well, when I was doing your games, this is the late 90s, early 2000s. It was late 90s, early 2000s. I think you were in like your 25th year or something at the time.
You're making it sound like I voted for Lincoln.
How many
I don't
years?
want to say anything, but he was my coach when I was 18 years old for
Wow.
the first New Hampshire-Vermont game.
Wow.
Stan Spirou,
Goes back a long
great
time.
coach.
I'm going into my 28th year at Southern New Hampshire. 3 as an assistant, 31, and 8 at Central. So almost 40 years.
And you still got the fire? You still enjoy it as much?
Yes, I do. Yes,
Absolutely.
I do. No question. There's some parts of it that are getting old a little bit. Like the bus trips to Lemoyne and some of those trips you've been on in the past. But I'm energized now because we have a pretty good nucleus of freshmen started for us, and we had a pretty good recruiting year, and we sat out 2 local kids that we think will have an impact. Mike Stiles, that played for Doc, who transferred in from New Haven, and David Medall, who played at Trinity, and also for Fitzy at Memorial. So we're excited. So the juices are starting to flow again, and hopefully we can get back to some of those glory days you were mentioning before.
No, that was a lot of fun. I mean, I really enjoyed, talking about Rich Levine, who used to do the games on the station way back in the day, and we went to Lemoyne, we went to AIC, all over the place. The league has changed a lot. The Northeast 10, you guys were in the NECC back then. It's I think a more competitive league now. I actually ran into some of your most hardcore supporters. I was at the NASCAR race a couple of weeks ago at New Hampshire Motor Speedway, and I was in the Rock 101 suite, the WGIR Clear Channel suite. And I ran into a couple guys who I've known from way back when, Dana and Tim, Louis D'Amato, part of that trifecta of fans. Louis wasn't there, but those guys were pumping me up. They said, we're feeling pretty good about this team. We got a lot of good guys coming in, just like you said. So they still got the faith in you.
Well, no question. But you don't sit at the bleachers, right? You go right into the suite.
It was about 95 degrees that day.
Watching people make left turns all day.
Hey, my 4.5-year-old son loves it, and it's a lot of fun. So some of your fans like it. They were there.
Let me just say, and again, thanks again. You guys, GIR, my 28 years, we started with you guys, and we had, again, a lot of fun. As a matter of fact, I was cleaning my office about 6 months ago, and a lot of the tapes, that you guys had done, in the past with some of the games are still on file, and one of these days I might go back and see how you sounded about it.
I've got a little critique. I actually listened to some of those tapes from time to time, and as I was looking down at the roster of the game in the Sam Carey game coming up on August 3rd at SNHU, I got game-winning shots from Mark Yetton. He hit a buzzer beater at Bentley one night, and Miguel Gonzalez draining a shot to win a game. I can't remember who it was against. I think it was Bentley knocking off number 1
at home.
Yeah,
when we knocked off Bentley, they were number 1 in the country at the time.
Yeah, and I saw Yetton, who is now the head coach of Bishop Brady basketball, and I saw him last winter, and I mentioned that to him. That I had that tape, and I'd try and get him a copy at some point. He said he'd love to relive that. So it's just a lot of fun. And Doc, as far as your team is concerned, you played in the championship game this past year. Mm-hmm. You ran into a buzzsaw at Merrimack, a number 7 seed. That was no number 7 seed, obviously. And Dimitri Flores, a tremendous player. But you guys, just to get to that championship game, I know a lot of people thought you guys had a chance to be in the mix, but I think people were surprised that you guys were able to knock off Trinity. How gratifying was just getting, you never want to say you're just happy to be there, but how gratifying was it to actually be in that game?
Well, what happens is you just keep building and building and building, and what happens is after the season's over, you start getting a sense of what you just went through and what you accomplished. One of the neat stories is we beat Trinity in a tremendous game. It's going to be probably one of the greatest games I've ever been a coach in. I get a call from Chip Kelly out in Oregon football, right? Call me immediately. Call him up. He goes, your guys just think they think they just won a national title. He goes, you got to do a Herb Brooks on them, the miracle, right? You got to bring him in a room and you got to startle him. And so after talking to Chip, I actually started to get nervous and thinking maybe he's right. Beating Trinity is a big deal for us. We had the same sort of game in the regular season. I think we beat them by 1 in the regular season. And you could tell our guys were not only very happy, but physically exhausted after that game. And we had to turn around and, hey, we knew Merrimack was going to be very good. The kid Flores, arguably the best player in the state last year. And we knew we had our hands full because they were finally going to be healthy. And when we had played them a few weeks earlier, Dimitri didn't play, and we won the game by like 7 or 8 points. It was a tough game. So, we had to talk. We got them ready. We actually thought we played pretty well. And, you had a sense of, we probably did about as good as we could with that group. And then, as the months kind of go on after the season ends, you start thinking, man, that's a pretty significant accomplishment for that group of kids. Like, we knew we had a chance to get into the mix. What does that mean? That could mean lose a quarterfinal game, lose a prelim game, and we were fortunate enough to make some plays at key times at games and get ourselves in the mix to have a chance at that state championship. So we were pretty proud of it.
One of your key guys on that team, Junior Brown, I think you had said to us before the season started, it might have been a preview show interview type thing, Doc. You said you thought Junior might be better at basketball than football. Now, he went out and won the inaugural Bo Dixon MVP award for the East-West high school football all-star game a little earlier this summer. Do you still stick to those? Stick to that scouting report?
Yeah, we're getting ready to send Junior to New Hampshire Technical Institute to play basketball for Paul Hogan. So any of our summer activities that we're doing at Central, we invite Junior, and he's playing. He has gotten so much better even since the time the season ended. Like, this kid's just a tremendous athlete. So I think clearly he could play either sport in college, and hopefully he's going to get his academic foundation in order, NHTI. I think this kid's going to have a lot of opportunity in either sport.
He was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
Pete, you were there too. He was a lot of fun to watch on the football field that Saturday.
It kind of reminds me as a football player, and I'm not comparing the actual talent. I'm just saying when I look at a guy and see how he plays and how he runs and the hairstyle with the cornrows when he had them, reminds me a lot of Randy Moss. Remember those? You'd see those Randy Moss highlights at Marshall, or when he was in high school. He just had those real long legs with the high socks, and he kind of reminded me a little bit of Randy Moss. He just was fun to watch, and that's great news. I mean, NHTI's got a good program over there. I wanted to ask you, Stan, about, I think it's something that's becoming a problem in New Hampshire high school sports, especially with basketball players. There's a lot of players that are foregoing their senior seasons. They're leaving early. You've had it, happen with your players, going on to prep school or whatever, leaving school. Not so much leaving school early for you to go to prep school, but after the fact they go to prep school. I don't have a problem with that. But you have a lot of kids, with the AAU and everything, all these different programs and organizations that they have. As a college coach, I'm wondering how you feel about these kids locally here in New Hampshire, leaving high school early to go to prep school because they think that they have a better shot at getting maybe a Division I or a Division II scholarship.
Well, certainly, prep schools do serve a purpose. And certainly, a kid coming out of high school that might not be ready physically, maybe because of he hasn't grown yet, physically he's not ready to compete at the next level. And I think, a prep school does serve that purpose. But for somebody to leave their sophomore or junior year, and it has nothing to do with academics, but basically it's because of basketball, I really don't see it. I personally think that my son or daughter, unless there were circumstances that the kid was getting in trouble socially, academically, maybe there's a reason to leave as a sophomore, as a junior. But I think 4 years of high school, especially, and again, I'm biased because I went to Central, I coached there, my kids went there, great school. For anybody to leave a place like Central to go to prep school, I don't see it. After you graduate, certainly, you need a year, you need to go to the next level, and I have no problem. If a kid is a Division II talent and wants to go to Division I and thinks by going to prep school after high school is the answer, why not? But to leave as a sophomore because somebody's dangling a carrot, I don't see it.
All right, guys, I want to thank you guys so much for coming in here. I really, really appreciate it. The reason that we are all together today, unfortunate reason, Sam Carey, who was killed in a car accident last year, played for both of our guests, Dave Doc Wheeler from Manchester Central, Stan Spirou from Southern New Hampshire University, part of the SAM Carey New Hampshire Alumni Classic. It's going to be played at Southern New Hampshire University Fieldhouse Friday night, August 3rd. There is the BST semifinal games going on that night, the Summer Madness semifinal games going on that night. This game is going to be in between those two semifinal games. All-star cast, unbelievable. If you want to check out more information, go to the website www.bs222.com. You can get tickets in advance. You can get tickets, I would assume, at the door as well. See some great basketball played. Just some of the names: Tyler Roach, Joe Fremo, Will Bayless, Mike Stiles, Luke Bonner, Chris Burns, Matt Lemieux, Dave Cooper, P.J. Young playing for Team Green, Doc Wheeler's team. Team Blue, Stan Spirou's team, Chris Lutz, Chris Brickley, Austin Denton, Mark Yetton, Scott Heselton, BG girls basketball coach, a championship coach, playing basketball, Steve DeLuca, Tim Lee, Miguel Gonzalez. I got two great basketball minds. I got to find out what their thoughts are on the Celtics. I mean, making a lot of moves. They went probably a lot farther than a lot of us thought this year. And they figured, why not bring the band back together? Ray Allen, obviously, going to the Miami Heat. But in my personal opinion, I think the Celtics are in pretty good shape heading towards next season. You want to start with that, Stan?
First of all, Pete, you better coordinate your watch with your producer.
Yeah, I know. That's my bad. That's my bad.
In terms of the Celtics, again, I think they've had their run. You know, right now, the only thing they can do is maybe, you know, put a Band-Aid on some of the stuff that is going on. I think it's going to take them, you know, another 10 years, you know, before they can get that talent level back. You know, right now they're just going to need to piecemeal and keep the fan base interested. You
don't think that they're better this year at this point from what they've done so far than they were last year?
No.
No?
Well, see, the thing I think you got.
Come on, Doc. I know you got pride.
You know, at that age, these guys are going to break down. And, you know, at the start of the year, they certainly have the appearance of more talent than they had last year. But, you know, you got to look at it. What happens when Garnett breaks down? What happens when Pierce gets, you know, starts breaking down? You know, these kids that they're bringing in are complementary pieces. It's going to be difficult for them to fill in when those two stars break down. So I agree with Stan.
You just stomped on us, Mark. We both thought we were in good shape.
Last time I checked, Robert Parrish, Larry Bird, Kevin McHale were not walking through any door.
But I've said to Pete a number of times, that's why Game 6 in that Eastern Conference Finals was so disappointing, is they had the chance to close it out. Who knows what happens in the finals? At least they get there if they win that game, and they didn't even show up.
Well, LeBron showed up.
Yeah, certainly.
That's true, too. Yes.
And personally, from what I've been hearing with some of my contacts inside the league, they're having problems, more so than we know, Doc and the point guard.
And Rondo?
Rondo.
Really?
Yeah.
Some inside scoop here on the New Hampshire Sports Show.
Not surprising. Rondo's a tough one to figure out.
Is your inside Ernie D? Is he your inside source?
Well, no, it's not Ernie D. But I think that's the problem that Pierce is having right now. As good as Rondo is, when you have the ball that long, and you have a guy like Pierce, you know, that's posting up, and you don't give it up right away, and you're going to dribble until you can't go any further. You know, now all of a sudden Pierce gets it with 5 or 6 seconds to go, and he doesn't have the game anymore like a Kobe, you know, to close anybody out in the last 4 or 5 seconds.
So, not a Rondo fan, Stan.
But Fat Melo's coming to save the day.
To be quite honest, not really.
Yeah? Do you like Rondo?
You're going to win a lot of games with him, but you've got to have the right individuals next to him.
Right.
How about you, Doc? You like Rondo?
I like him. I don't love him.
Okay. All right, and Mark, you know, you mentioned Fab Melo, so one of you guys mentioned, that's why Mark is so high, because he's a Syracuse grad, so they drafted those two guys.
Yep.
Mark Thaler loves it. All right, guys, we have determined that now we got to say goodbye. We will see you Friday night, August 3rd at the Sam Carey-NH Hampshire Alumni Classic. Can't wait to see that game. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's for a very, very good cause. Thanks so much, guys, for coming in, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks the second time, people.
All right. More of the New Hampshire Sports Show coming up. WGIR AM-610, 96.7 The Wave.